some crap with HR. I mean, Gina Peony, when I saw this, head of change leadership or something like that at the IMF, I'm like, you have got to be kidding me. I mean, I got a lawsuit against you already for how during your time in the Institute for Capacity Development, you were promoting and encouraging bullying, mismanagement, and stupidity. I mean, one retreat, she actually had all of the big wigs, you know, Charmony and all of the deputy directors and the, I don't know if the division heads, I think it was just the division heads were there as well, dressing up like kings and queens and prancing around. I mean, this was an entire day. And believe me, these retreats, they cost a lot of money. Of taxpayers' money. I mean, it's crazy what they're doing. And as I say, this is a case study. I mean, this is being repeated and repeated and repeated throughout Washington. And it's obscene. And another that just sent me off the rails, and this is in my report, Workplace Bullying in the IMF, which everybody, of course, also, they're protecting her. I mean, the protection rackets going on between the HR department, the ombudsman, the ethics committee. I wish I could say that it is unbelievable, but it's totally believable. And in fact, what's really, really sad is it's just one example among so many in this city. I mean, it boggles the mind. So, let's go on. James Madison, a revolutionary trying to bring his brand of politics into power, was like Hobbes, looking revolution in the face. Unlike Hobbes, however, Madison actually liked what he saw. In Federalist 10, Madison contemplated the problem that was to bedevil the citizens of Bell a quarter of a millennium later. Whether small or extensive, republics are most favorable to the election of proper guardians of the public weal, and it is clearly decided in favor of the latter. His conclusion, not easily reached, as he was fearful about tyranny of the majority, is close to what we argue is correct, although, as always, the devil is in the details, and Madison, we believe, fell a bit short on the details of good governance. I think he's right. And what's, let's see, in describing a republic as large or small, he failed to distinguish between how many had a say in choosing leaders and how many were essential to keeping a leader in place. The two, as we will see, can be radically different. Madison's view was at odds with that of Montesquieu, who maintained that in a large republic, the public good is sacrificed to 1,000 views. It is subordinate to exceptions and depends on accidents. In a small one, the interest of the public is easier perceived, better understood, and more within the reach of every citizen. Abuses have a lesser extent and, of course, are less protected. So, first off, it's interesting, you know, everybody who is going back to the Founding Fathers and looking at the Founding Fathers, I've got Juan Williams' book here as well. Nobody ever mentions John Dickinson. Nobody. And yeah, because everybody is still on this warmongering trajectory and mentality, a power over mentality. I got another book back there. I haven't even got into psychology. Believe me, I'm all over the map with all of the social sciences. I got my work cut out for me to get through all of this stuff. I'll be here for several years. So, no mention, never any mention about John Dickinson and what John Dickinson was saying and what John Dickinson was advocating. Because John Dickinson was actually probably more in line with Hobbes than with Madison. And later on, I also ordered a book. There was one, it was about it's Thomas Jefferson and I believe John Adams, and not the traditional viewpoint, a lot of the bad stories about these guys. And we have a tendency, as everybody always does, to idolize these people and make them out to be these fine, upstanding gentlemen. And that goes back again. You can't, just by giving somebody castles and possessions, you don't make a gentleman. It's, with Pygmalion and My Fair Lady. This is an age-old question, and I guess Tarzan is a bit down that line. Philosophical question between the war of the classes, because actually what we have is a war of the classes, not a racial war. That's why they let in all of the white supremacists, and they let in the browns and the blacks and the women and everything, because they said, well, no, because we really have a revolution. So just let them in, but only let in the ones who are going to play this power over game, because what we really have going on here is a class war, and that's why we see the rich are getting richer and the poor are getting poorer, because they want to consolidate their power bases. The more that they can oppress the masses and put them into jobs where they can barely make a living, and they have to have 2 jobs to be able to make end meets, and create so much chaos and have an oppressive police state. They're so struggling to survive, they can't band together to fight you politically. And as we see, the lawyers are hanging everybody out to dry. I mean, they're just out there to make money, as the police officers. God, I'll get into a story later. But so that's how you can keep them down, and that's why. And this, where we are right now. And I've always been a huge advocate for democratic governance and democratic procedure. That's why when I got into my divorce, nobody understands. It wasn't about money. It wasn't even about the violence of my husband. I mean, what just horrified me the most was my ex-husband, who's both of his grandfathers had been on the losing side of the Spanish Civil War, fighting for democracy. And my ex-husband had even said that in '84 coup d'etat in Spain, if the king hadn't been successful, he would have gone back and taken up arms. And I was horrified. I said, no, you never take up arms. You denounce this. You get out in the streets and you demonstrate, and you of course you don't just say, well, it's not my problem, but you don't take up arms. And just for me, I even said to one of the lawyers, and I'm sure this was Cuatro Casas in the Bank of America lawyer, Alex Fernandez, and Jorge Capel. You know, I thought Spain was a democracy now, but I see it clearly as not. I think they were offended. No, I meant it seriously. Because what everybody was doing, the legal profession, the lawyers, everybody who walked into court and was purging themselves, falsifying documents, trying to manipulate the integrity of the judicial procedure, was attacking the Spanish Constitution. I saw that. I mean, for me, that was as clear as night as day. And I was horrified. That's why I was like, I will challenge all of you people. And I know now, it just, how do I, it wasn't even within their realm of ability to understand. I mean, it was like I was talking, you know, some 3-year-old child, and that's what, I mean, I was watching an interview with Mary Trump in her book, and this is what she's talking about with Trump. It was a really good interview. I'll use it later on. It's an hour, so I won't use the whole thing. But, you know, it just how all of his behavior is childlike. And it is because he went through severe trauma as a child, and it stunts your, you know, your growth, your emotional growth. And that's what's happening with all of these narcissists and all of these con artists that are in the system and consolidating their power base, and have been for the past 50 years. And those are the ones who are in power today. I mean, well, most of them are my age, maybe a little bit older, but around that age. I'm a pretty old lady now. So, you know, like, you guys, we were in the sandbox together playing. I've been watching you grow up all the way from the beginning. And I know who you are. And you don't impress me with your PhDs, you don't impress me with your fancy titles, and you certainly don't impress me with your stupid talk and your lies, because I see through them all the time. I told one guy at the IMF one time, I said, look, you gotta get up pretty early in the morning to pull a fast one over on me. I got thrown out in the street when I was 19 years old. I mean, you know, I've had backstabbing people around me all of my life. So I learned from a very, very, very young age the Machiavellian game. I also learned that if you play it and you get into that, it destroys you and everyone around you, and it destroys your soul, most of all. But I also, at the end of this, that you can use it for good. That you can use that knowledge and those same tactics to fight, not to oppress people, and not to grapple up the ladder of success and join them in their scumbag games. You can use it to bring them down. And this is what Machiavelli didn't really see, was that, the names keep on changing. And of course, if I was to bring this, you know, paradigm group in power down, there's always going to be somebody trying to come and bring me down. You get in power, whoever gets up into power. So, because they want to be in power, they want to be the master of the universe. So even if I get up to power, if I lose the support of the people, there will be somebody there who will be able to bring me down. Now, an important thing, and this is where I get into this, Machiavelli, the messages play by the same rules. Yes. You become ruthless. Where am I ruthless? Say, I'm not building an army. I'm not going to go out, okay, people, give me your guns, give me your grenades, give me your atomic bombs, you know, like everybody else. I mean, that's why we got so many terrorist attacks. All the pissed off people, you know, vying for the different, because believe me, don't think that a lot of these, we see this all the time, you know, how this terrorist, and I don't know, I think it was the Saudis a lot of times who are involved in that. They create havoc in our country. They pit everybody against themselves. We start infighting. We destroy our country. And then, of course, the other countries can become master of the universe. I mean, this is when the conspiracy theories that they love. Everybody in power, that's just a conspiracy theory. That's just a conspiracy theory. I'm like, you people, like, do you really, is this just another cover-up? Or do you really believe that everybody that's up there on your little cesspool is as clean as you seem to think they are? No. When you listen to these guys, you're like, you think this town is filled with angels? Like, what planet do you live on? It's filled with rats. So of course there's conspiracies all over the place. Everybody is in their little power bases trying to, because they've toppled somebody or stepped on somebody to get where they are. That's why we have so many incompetent people who has risen to their level of incompetence and above. Now, the mentality in Washington is like in Kalari, one of the guys says, no papers, no experience, no English, no problem. We need a warm body. And you know, just go on to any of the reviews, Yelp or Open Table, to what that produces. Here again, they were saying, you know, whether it's in a small organization or a large organization. Of course, small organization, it's easier to see the game being played because, of course, there's less actors. I mean, you know, that's the same as within a small country or a huge country. There's just less actors. So, but the what I do with the case studies that I'm doing for the labor rights violations, with Kalari Taverna, gets into Succotash, Iriki, Daily Grill, Ashok Bajaj, with Bendas and Ardeo Bardeo, is that, see, the same dysfunctionality, the same mentality, the same problems that you see in relative, I mean, this is a restaurant. Let's say they have 50 employees, I don't know, between kitchen and everybody, all of this, the shifts. Don't get up to there, but let's say maximum they're going to have 50 employees, a restaurant. Granted, that is much smaller than the IMF, which I think is 1,500, you know, or the World Bank, which is much bigger than the IMF, and the UN is either the same size in terms of, but thousands and thousands, 50 and thousands of people. So, but within those two case studies, whether it be just ICD or the entire IMF, because I did work in the different departments, or as well as the IMF Family Association, what I demonstrate is, yes, it's easier to see when it's a smaller organization. There's less actors, less bureaucracy, and of course less people to examine. But the dynamics are the same. The reasons are the same. The dynamics are the same. I mean, the managers of restaurants in this town, I could give training courses on what not to do. There's this one guy, in fact, he's the one I was shouting at on Valentine's Day, February 14th, at Kalari, when the Titanic was sinking, and I'm trying to keep the thing afloat just until the end of the shift. Oh God. Everybody after that, by the end of the evening, I was like, I'm done. I'm not going to stress myself out about this place. I'm going to come in, punch the clock. Nobody asked me for anything. Because before I'd always, help this, help that, give them, some advice. I mean, when Wanda Ortiz came in, I tried to help her out and explain how to do the job. No. Oh boy. This is the typical of what you see in Washington, and just reproducing, because she's a newcomer to Washington, and just the social climbing, the brown nosing of everybody. I mean, I was interested in working downtown, Lobbyville, was because this is where all of the VIPs and the lawyers and working at Kalari has been very, very, very productive for me. I don't have to jet set around the world. I don't have to go to all of these conferences and everything. I schmooze and cruise with these VIPs, and I get actual face-to-face conversations of guys I would never be able to talk to if I went to their conferences. So actually, see, working at Kalari, everybody's looking, one of the guys, Saudi Arabian, waiter, who's been in this town forever, what a two-faced he is as well. He actually told me, had the nerve after threatening me, and I told him, I said, the next time you threaten me like that, because he said, you better watch out, you're nothing but an effing, he didn't say effing, hostess. See, this is why, it's so important for the people like Gina Paoni and all of the HR people in Washington, and Adrian Thapa, and everybody else in the IMF and the Institute for Capacity Development to marginalize me, because it's going to shut me up. Now, they all know about my research. They all know about my new civil rights movement. They all know about my work on violence against women as human rights violations. Now, to my face, and publicly, oh, this is wonderful, so wonderful what you're doing. I mean, and I always get compliments from everybody. Yet, do I ever get any help? No. Most of the time, either ignore it till she goes away, in best case scenario, or I get my back stabbed. And even with the domestic violence advocates, I won't have anything to do with them anymore. Thank God I found out what was going on there, and how much in bed they are with the alpha dominance feminists, as the Women's March. And thank God I found out about what went on there, that I didn't even try and get involved with the Women's March people. I'm like, thank you, I've learned my lessons. The Expat Wives Club? Then, all the other crap that I've gone through with the IMF and the World Bank and the domestic violence people, I'm like, all of you people are Machiavellian, social climbing narcissists. I mean, it just, I'm still waiting for somebody to raise their hand in this town saying, do you care about your integrity? Do you care about your soul? Do you care about the future of your children? Do you care about the you know, your Hippocratic oath if you're a doctor, your dedication to the rule of law, to the principles of law? No. And the legal profession says that they don't need regulation because they're self-regulating. No, they're not. I mean, I have proved that. I have, you know, with all of, see here, all of the criminal activity going on with the lawyers in Spain. Now, everybody's defense has been habitual custom. So I'm like, oh, that's your defense? Well, that makes it systemic. So this is where I go on to crimes against humanity. So, this is habitual custom. This is what's being done in Spain. Now, as I say, Spain, I use this as a case study, and the Constitution, the Penal Code, and the Civil Code as my base in reclaiming universal jurisdiction and using that. I understand that other countries don't have the Spanish Constitution, the Penal Code, and the Civil Code. My point being that this is a utopian framework from which I am judging other systems using this example. Because I know that's going to come out. That's people. Some idiot out there is going to say to me, "But don't you understand that this is not that this is not applicable in the United States?" Yes. But it is a case study of what is going on within all of these court systems, using what should be the how shall I say it, the exemplary legal framework. But since you have lawyers who are totally corrupt, who believe that perjury, everybody does it, so it's okay. Falsification of documents, everybody does it, so it's okay. Extortion, everybody does it, so it's okay. I mean, I have to go through, but see, let's see, the penal, this is the penal column, and this is the civil code column. If you want to look at all of the different numbers and look at all of the different things on because you can get the penal code and the civil code in English online. It's on War on Domestic Terrorism, My Story. And if you go into My Story, then there's this table. And in fact, this is the condensed table. And I have a table for every single lawyer. There were 8 of them who have a table of all of the different laws that they broke and violations of the Constitution in their defense of me. and then I'm the one who is considered crazy because I keep on changing lawyers. That's what somebody said. You better stop changing lawyers because the judge is going to think you're crazy and believe what your husband is saying. I was like, is the judge stupid or is he crazy? Or is she? Is a she. Now, the women judges are the worst. Ask any victim. Now, is she stupid or is she crazy? Because every single lawyer, there's a very good reason I got rid of them. Every lawyer who came in should have gone to the judge and said, look, the lawyer before her, I'm filing with the Judicial Review Board, and I'm also filing, I don't know, there must be some, because these are penal offenses. So I'm filing with the appropriate Attorney General or something, because they have, that not only have they, misrepresented and worked to the detriment of their client, which is, a huge deontological offense, but they've committed crimes in the process. So that new lawyer should have been going after, and also then they go after that previous lawyer under civil damages. But no, everybody just covers it up, and it keeps on covering up. I got a whole slew of lawyers in Spain covering all of this up, including Baltasar Garzón. His bufete de abogados has been sitting on this case. It's ready to submit. No explanation of, no lady, we're not going to do it because you're wrong here, or you're wrong there, or this is not true, or this would violate this or that. No, explanation. No, ignore till she goes away. So the problem is they become complicit to the crimes because they've been notified of all of these crimes. All the way, this Crimes Against Humanity is Article 7 of the Rome Statute. With the COVID and everything that's going on with the COVID and everybody who's covering up for all of the problems and trying to shut me up with ICD at the top of the list, and Congress also at the top of the list, we get into Article 6, which is genocide. So, the more and more, and the UN, the WHO, World Health Organization, depends on the UN, is part of the UN. I already want some answers from them. I mean, both my parents passed from the COVID. Okay, they were at the end of their lives, and it's definitely not like these children out there or younger people. I mean, it was. It's sad that they passed, but it was. They wanted. The first thing that my mom said when she came back from the hospital, when is this going to be over and we can get out of here? So it was very sad.